What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Respect and Pray Show with yours truly, Miguel Mike Medina, Triple M. On this episode, I have a gentleman who I've had the privilege to met about 6, 7 years ago when we were part of a short film called PTSD, and from there, we've collaborated in one of my short films. But this young guy, I mean, we're the same age, but we're young fellas anyway. Um, we both attended the same school. We major in the same thing. He is an actor, a voice over actor. He's a firefighter as well. He grew up in Rochester, New York. So, and his journey, his story is amazing. And I feel that he's one of those people that will reach to bigger heights, but the world doesn't know it yet. But I have a good feeling about him and where he's going with his career. So stay tuned for this interview because it's a good one and you'll learn a lot more about this guy, and the future is bright for him. So check this interview out.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to present to you Brandon Michael Reeves. Brandon, it's been a minute. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to be here.
All right, all right. So I got to start from the top, man. What drove you to be an actor?
So my first experience with it, my last year of high school, joining I joined stage crew for a production of Les Mis. Really, I was chasing this girl I had a crush on, but actually, I found I really started to enjoy the show as the rehearsals went on, and everything. And actually, the stage crew became part of the actual show. So that was my first interest in acting. But growing up, I was always very into animation and anime, and I would try to emulate the voices of the actors with my friends and stuff. So that was kind of my first, I could maybe do this someday. And a couple of years ago, I just bit up the courage to look for a class to see if I can, start to learn about the craft. Because my minor's in theater, but it's a whole different beast. Voice acting versus stage acting versus film and everything. So yeah, I took a class and everything's kind of fallen into place from there.
And the great thing is, we met when we did on PTSD, which was like back in 2015, 2016. And
Yeah.
from there, we collaborated on my short film, Twin Feelings.
Hmm.
But it's great, man. I see you took a class for voiceover in 2020. You
Hmm.
got with a voice coach as well, and you built a bit budget studio in your
Yeah.
garage. How tell me about that.
So starting out, I wasn't sure how far I would get in the industry, but I realized very, very quickly that I was recording off of this this bookshelf. I had a mic up there and it was in this small room in my house, but the echo was so loud. And at first I wasn't sure, what the sound quality was supposed to be as I'm doing like auditions and recording and stuff like that. So as I was working with the coach, she was like, build a studio. So some people have them, they go in like a closet, but I don't really want to record in my closet. So I built this frame out of PVC pipes and moving blankets, and it wound up costing me like, I don't know, $150. The most expensive part was all the blankets, and the sound quality definitely improved. But yeah, it was a little cold in the wintertime because it's just blankets, so it's still cold out here. But yeah, since then I've kind of upgraded a little bit. I'm actually in my studio right now. And the sound quality I'd say is pretty good. I've recorded out here a few times. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. When you told me recently about that, I'm like, oh, I didn't know, but I'm glad that you built it. Um, so that's what it's all about. You got to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an
Before I
investment.
forget, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Before I forget, we both attended CCNY.
Mhm.
You played for the basketball team.
I did.
How was that
I did.
experience like? How was that
Um,
experience like?
so kind of in between, basketball and the rest of my classes in theater, it was very demanding. CCNY is only Division 3, but they say only Division 3. I feel like we say this a lot as athletes from D3. It's harder because a lot of times D1 athletes, you're there on like a scholarship. So basically all you're doing is school and sports. You get kind of everything else is provided for you. You get, stipends and food and everything like that, travel and everything. But at the D3 level, you're full-time student, you're full-time student athlete. So you still have the demands of travel and practice and games and things like that. But a lot of us were also working. So I was the captain at one point of the basketball team, and I was working part-time, and I was an RA in the dorms and a full-time student at the same time. So it became really just kind of, it was a lot. But yeah, I made it out. I made it out. And I feel like that experience has made me all the better. It really makes you manage your time a lot better.
And that transition to firefighter, you joined in 2015 the EMT, right?
Hmm.
2015. So as a full-time firefighter, was this is always something that you had in mind to do? What is it about being a firefighter that drove you wanted to do this? And also, what's the most challenging aspect of being a firefighter?
Got you. So I wanted to become a firefighter I mean, it's kind of one of those career day things you talk about as a kid. It's like, oh, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a police officer, doctor, whatever. But so as I grew older and I was trying to figure out my career choices and what I wanted to do in life. I realized that I really wanted to help people in a very impactful and sizable way, but I didn't want to necessarily um I don't know, stay in their lives for long. Like you have an experience with a firefighter or an EMT, they're saving your life, or they're there for you in a very vulnerable time in your life, and that's a very lasting, memory that creates sometimes. And I wanted to have that impact, and it's a cool job. Like when we actually start doing the stuff that we're trained to do, it's very very fun, but it's also very physically demanding. It's mentally taxing a bit because our schedule, it's nice in some ways, but also it really throws off your circadian rhythm because you're up at any hour of the night depending on what happens. Um, but I really love my job. I've actually never been happier to go to work than when I became a firefighter. And I became an EMT because I had intended on going to like FDNY, but at the time, it it's very competitive. And I just happened to move to Yonkers and take their test. So and I scored really well. I was on the first class. So yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. But as far as managing that with acting, I think the schedule's kind of afforded me the ability to do both. But it definitely, especially with my kids now and my wife working too, we really have to schedule out our time.
And you certainly have a beautiful family with a wife who you met at CCNY.
Hmm.
You guys have two kids now. Since
Yep.
you're a firefighter, does it concern at least your wife, or is she very supportive? Like, how's that like?
She's always in my corner. She's one of the most supportive people that I've ever met. But at the same time, when I was going through the initial stages, the initial process, she was like, you know, if if a building's on fire and like you're not at work, are you gonna run into the fire? I'm like, no. She's like, but that's what you're supposed to. I'm like, no, it's not. We need the gear and stuff, and the water and the everything else has to go with it. I'm not doing that. But at the same time, you know, there's a certain level of what actually goes on at work that you tell people about, and especially like your loved ones, because they may not accept that level of danger that you've prepared yourself to accept. So I use a little bit of discretion because sometimes it actually is like really dangerous. But people think we're going to fires all the time, and it's not necessarily the case. We actually 66% of most Yonkers and FDNY's runs are medical runs, and that could be someone's having difficulty breathing or chest pain or something like that. But it's also car accidents or exposure to different like chemicals or something like that or gas, things like that. So we respond a lot to those things actually more than fires. And then everything's, even when we do respond to fires, not everything's a big fire. It could be, garbage that's on fire outside. Somebody threw a cigarette in the garbage can and now the can's blowing up. So, but yeah, it's not as bad as it seems on TV all the time, but sometimes it is that bad.
You're a person that's an actor and is a voice actor as well. Do you see yourself ever writing your own projects or directing? Is that an open market for you?
Um, so as far as, I've been trying not to overcommit to things, but I did, my degree is in English, and I was creative writing concentration. So I did a fair bit of writing during college, but since then I've kind of been stalled on this. It sounds cliche, it's just, this screenplay that never gets finished. But I've written and rewritten my first act, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and it's refined to the point where I'm really happy with it. But now I got to write the rest of it, and so getting to that point is tough. But I don't know. It could be in the cards in the future. Right now, I'm just kind of focused on voice acting, because there's a certain lane that I've kind of fallen into of not fallen into, but it's kind of my niche right now. It's commercial acting. Commercial voice acting is different from promotional voice acting, different from animation and character acting. So right now I'm working on expanding that, and so I can go into other different realms of voice acting, because that would be cool. That's the whole reason I started this, is to become a character, and I don't feel like I've fully accomplished that yet. I'm very proud of where I've gone so far, because this is kind of the first year that I've been doing this. But moving forward, I want to do other things. I want to branch out, and maybe I'll go on camera too again. It's been a while.
That's great. And I hope that you get to write and produce and direct sometime in the future. I'm always pushing um, fellow colleagues, to do their own stuff, not just stick to one thing.
Yeah,
Obviously, you could stick to one thing right now, but to not rule it out in the future, because there's nothing greater than have the freedom and, create your own stuff instead of waiting for someone else
right.
or waiting for someone else to give you the green light. So I hope you keep that in mind in the future.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
pulling for you for that.
absolutely. You
Um,
got to grow. You've been doing a lot too, man. I've been following your career. It's been really amazing watching you grow, man. From humble beginnings back at CCNY.
I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we major the same thing because I was English with a concentration creative writing.
Mm,
So I hear you.
yeah, man.
Theater or film?
Ooh. Film. Do I have to
Respect?
explain why?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Oh.
Respect or loyalty?
Hmm. I'm going to go with, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with loyalty. Yeah, loyalty.
Hip hop or R&B?
R&B, 100%.
Final Four or NBA Finals in terms of they offer you a gig? Which one do you prefer? Final Four
Oh,
or NBA Finals?
oh man. Uh, no, Final Four. It's Final Four. It's watched by everybody, I guess. Yeah, it's a bigger thing, I think. Yeah, definitely Final Four. All that exposure.
Last but not least, where will you go to celebrate your 10th year anniversary? Bahamas or Jamaica? Which one will you pick?
I think I would pick Jamaica. And I'm assuming you're talking about my wedding anniversary.
Yeah, I'll say wedding
Yeah.
anniversary.
All right, yeah. I'd say Jamaica. We've been to the Bahamas once. I mean, we could go back, but it's always good to try new places.
Right. I've been to the
Yeah,
Bahamas and yeah, it's nice. It's a real
yeah.
deal. All right, man. Brandon, thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me. Best of luck on everything. Keep
Thank you,
going,
man.
man. You're doing great as a firefighter, and now I see that you're doing voice acting more often. So best of luck to you. I salute you, praise to you, and be safe out there as always. And
Thanks,
sky's the
man.
limit for you.
Thank you. Same to you. It's very good to see you, man. So happy to see you.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Respect and Pray Show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm serious. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And like I always tell you guys, have mutual respect, mutual love, and mutual admiration. So stay tuned for the next episode.